I've been a subway operator for 6 years, night shifts mostly. It's not glamorous, but it's quiet, peaceful even. Most nights I zone out, run my route, and count the hours till my shift ends. But tonight, something isn't right. It started small. A weird flicker in the overhead lights when I pulled out of the depot. A tiny static hiss in my radio that cut off as soon as I tried to adjust the volume. Nothing major, just enough to make me notice. But then I checked the route display. The train was scheduled for the usual loop, nothing out of the ordinary. But as I rolled past West 96th, something caught my eye on the monitor. A new stop had appeared, southbound to Morrow Station. I frowned. I know this route like the back of my hand, and there is no goddamn Morrow Station anywhere on the New York subway system. I thought maybe the display had glitched. It happens. The MTA isn't exactly known for cutting-edge technology, but when I glanced at the digital map on my console, my stomach tightened. The track ahead, the one I've driven 100 times, was extending. New tunnels, a new stop. That wasn't possible. I tapped the radio. Control, this is train 819. My system's showing a route change. Can you confirm? Silence. A few seconds later, static crackled through the speaker, but no voice followed. I exhaled, forcing myself to stay calm. Maybe it was a software update no one told me about, or maybe I was just tired and overthinking it. The tunnel outside stretched forward, black and endless. There was no way to turn back. I had to follow the tracks ahead. I kept driving. When the train began to slow, I felt it before I saw it. A deep, gnawing wrongness, like stepping into a room you know you shouldn't be in. I checked the display again. Morrow Station. The platform ahead was dimly lit. It looked old, older than any station I'd ever seen. The walls were cracked, the tiles yellowed with age, and there was graffiti on the pillars, scrawled in jagged, looping script I couldn't read. The worst part? There were people waiting. At least, I thought they were people. A handful of figures stood in the shadows, not moving, not shifting their weight or looking at their phones like normal passengers. Just standing. My stomach turned. No one was supposed to be here. This station wasn't real. The automated announcement crackled overhead. Next stop, Morrow Station. Please watch your step. The doors slid open. No one moved. I kept my hand near the control panel, ready to override the stop and close the doors. My pulse thudded in my ears. Then, at the very last second, one of them stepped inside. The doors shut. The train lurched forward. I didn't turn around right away. I kept my eyes locked on the console, forcing myself to focus. Act normal. Do not acknowledge the wrongness. The air inside the train felt heavier, like the pressure had changed. Slowly, I glanced at the mirror above my console, the one that let me see the first car. The passengers sat alone, perfectly still. They were in the farthest seat, face angled slightly downward, hood pulled over their head. I couldn't see their face. I cleared my throat. Late night, huh? Silence. They didn't move. I swallowed. You, know where you're headed? A beat of silence. Then, in an unnaturally low and hollow voice, deeper. I didn't respond after that. Didn't even try. I focused on driving, counting the seconds until the next stop. But there wasn't a next stop. I checked the display again. The route had extended further. More tunnels. More track. The train was still going down. I tapped the brakes, trying to slow our descent. The train shuddered, but the speed didn't change. My hands felt ice cold on the controls. Control, this is train 819. I hesitated, licking my lips. My system isn't responding. I need confirmation on the next stop. Silence. Then the radio crackled. A voice came through. Garbled, warped. Do not stop. Do not let them in. The signal cut out. I gripped the controls tighter, staring out at the tunnel ahead. The lights outside flickered. For just a second, I saw something crawling along the walls. The radio was dead again. The voice, "Do not stop, do not let them in," had cut out as fast as it arrived, leaving only silence in its place. My fingers hovered over the emergency brake, but deep down, I already knew the truth. It wouldn't work. The train kept going, and the tunnels ahead, they weren't normal anymore. The walls pulsed, slow, rhythmic, like breathing. Shadows moved between the flickering lights, but there was nothing there. The air felt denser, thicker, like the whole train was sinking into something deeper than the subway system should allow. And I wasn't alone. I glanced at the mirror above the console, locking eyes on the passenger. They still sat perfectly still in the last seat, face down, unmoving. But something about them felt different. I swallowed hard and flicked on the train's PA system. My voice cracked through the empty car. "Sir, this train is experiencing technical issues. I need you to come up front." Nothing. "Sir?" No reaction. I sucked in a breath and slowly turned my head. They weren't sitting anymore. They were standing. I gripped the controls, my knuckles bone white. The figure stood near the far doors, facing away from me. Their hood still covered their face, but the longer I looked, the more I realized they weren't breathing, not moving, not shifting their weight. Nothing. Like a mannequin dressed in a hoodie and jeans. I turned back to the console, heart pounding. This isn't real. The tunnels outside grew darker. The station signs, ones I'd known my entire life, were replaced with things I didn't recognize. The words were garbled, letters jumbled together into nonsense. Some were written in languages I couldn't read. Others weren't written in any language at all, just symbols that hurt to look at. I reached for the radio again, my hand shaking. "Control, do you read me? This is Train 819. I have a metallic clank rang out behind me, a sound I knew too well. The doors had opened. I whipped around, my pulse hammering in my skull. The passenger was gone, vanished. The doors at the far end of the car stood open, leading into blackness. But we weren't at a station. We were still moving. My breath came in short, panicked bursts. Then I heard it. A sound just beyond the open doors. Wet, dragging, slow. Something was stepping onto the train. I slammed the override button. The doors slammed shut. A second later, thud. Something hit the doors. Not with force, not like someone trying to pry them open. Just pressing against them. Feeling. Testing. The train rocked, as if something heavy had landed on board. I sucked in a breath and turned to the monitor, switching to the next car's camera feed. At first, I saw nothing, just an empty train car. Then, the overhead lights flickered, and something moved. A figure at the far end. It was tall, wrong. At first, I thought its body was wrapped in fabric, like it was wearing a cloak. But as the lights flashed, I saw the truth. It wasn't wearing anything. Its skin was stitched together, loose, hanging in places. With a sudden and unnatural movement, its head jerked up. Its face was stitched too, a mouth pulled wide with thick black thread. It didn't have eyes, and it was walking toward me. The train lurched, nearly throwing me forward. The speed was increasing. I grabbed the control panel, my breath coming in ragged bursts. My mind raced, but my body knew what to do. Run protocol. I punched in the emergency shutdown sequence. Nothing. I threw the lever for manual override. Nothing. The brakes were completely unresponsive. The train was going down. Faster and faster, into tunnels that shouldn't exist. My vision blurred as the lights overhead began to change. At first, I thought they were flickering again. But no, they were changing color. A sickly, unnatural red, like meat. And beyond the glass, the tunnels had transformed. The concrete was gone. The steel beams, the old graffiti, the crumbling tiles, all of it had disappeared. Now the walls were fleshy, veined, pulsing, as if the train wasn't inside a tunnel anymore, as if it was inside something living. The air smelled like blood. My stomach lurched. Then the PA system crackled. A voice whispered through the speakers, so distorted I could barely make out the words. "You should not be here." I turned to the monitor. The stitched thing was in the next car, standing at the door to the operator cabin. Not moving, just waiting, watching. And the train kept going down. The thing at the door wasn't moving. I could see it in the monitor, tall, stitched together, with a mouth pulled wide by thick black thread. No eyes, just skin stretched too tight over a shape that wasn't quite human. It just stood there, waiting. The train kept going down, faster now. The walls outside were wrong. No longer tunnels, no longer concrete, just veined flesh, pulsing under the dim red glow of the train lights. I gripped the controls so hard my fingers ached. Nothing worked. I couldn't stop it. I couldn't slow it down. I was trapped. And then, the door handle rattled. The metal handle twisted once, twice, slow, deliberate. I locked it. I knew I had, but I heard a soft, wet click, and the door slid open. The air changed instantly. Heavy, thick. The sharp, coppery scent of blood filled my lungs. I didn't move, didn't even breathe. I felt it step forward, but I didn't turn around. I could see it in the mirror. Closer now. Its head tilted as if studying me. Its arms hung at its sides, unnaturally long, fingers twitching like they were waking up. Then, in that warped, hollow voice, "Not yours to drive." The train lurched violently. I slammed into the console, my ribs rattling. The overhead lights flickered, the walls outside rippling like something alive. I gritted my teeth and threw a glance at the route display. The next stop had appeared, and it wasn't a station. Final destination, the hollow. The stitched thing moved behind me, slow, deliberate. It was going to take me, drag me off this train into whatever the hollow was. My fingers dug into the controls. I only had one shot. The emergency kill switch. It wasn't meant to be used like this. If I hit it while the train was going full speed, it would derail the whole thing. Maybe that would kill me. Maybe it wouldn't matter. I swallowed hard and gripped the lever. The thing behind me breathed. Wet, slow, hungry. I pulled the switch. The train screamed. Metal howled. The world tilted, grinding, shuddering, before the entire car flipped. I was weightless for half a second. Then, impact. blinding pain. Darkness. I woke up in the wreckage. The train was ruined. Doors twisted, windows shattered, the cabin crumpled like a crushed soda can. And the tunnels? They were normal again. Concrete. Cold. The red light was gone. The flesh walls were gone. I was back in the subway. Somewhere deep, unmapped. But I was alive. I coughed, tasting blood. Something in my ribs was definitely broken. My head throbbed. I forced myself upright. All of a sudden, I saw it. The thing, crushed under the wreckage, twisted limbs, split skin. The black thread of its mouth snapped. I waited. It didn't move, didn't breathe. It was dead. I let out a breath. Then I heard it. A voice. From the wreckage. Not human. Software distant. Another train will arrive shortly. The blood in my veins turned ice cold. I turned. Beyond the wreckage, down the tunnel, I saw it. The faint glow of approaching headlights. Coming toward me. Fast. Another train. Another operator. And behind the glass, standing in the front cabin, I saw it. Not a person. Not a driver. Something stitched together. Its head tilted. Its mouth pulled into a wide black-threaded grin. The train wasn't stopping. I ran.